On behalf of Bet David, Clinton, Bet Menorah, Pretoria, and Bet David, Durban, welcome to our Shabbat Chol HaMoed Sukkot service this evening. The sermon tonight will be delivered by Rabbi Elisheva Salomon, who will join us live from San Francisco. Should anyone wish to sponsor a Shabbat service to celebrate a Simcha, or simply to support the congregation, please contact the synagogue office. The service this evening has been sponsored by Leroy Barnes to celebrate his recent birthday. The Shabbat candles will be lit by Teresa Sobel, and our chairman Desmond Sweet has a special reading to commemorate National Heritage Day. Desmond.
Meditation and prayer on our diverse heritage. Heritage Day celebrates South Africa's roots and its vibrant and diverse peoples. We come from many nations with many languages, a united people that delights in its many different gifts. At its core, this day celebrates the true meaning of why we call ourselves the Rainbow Nation. Our Torah teaches, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." And God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. That's from Genesis. May we recognize that God's creation is enriched by its diversity. May we pursue the biblical prophet's vision of peace. That we acknowledge and rejoice in our differences. That we might live in peace with one another and together revere the divine in every living being. Let us consider our ways as individuals, culturally, and as a nation. Let us reject those things that do not benefit us or our society and does not bring honor to our people and to God. Let us choose to walk on the paths of righteousness and acknowledge our oneness in our differences. Today we ask God's blessing on us, many people, one nation. Amen.
As these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be amongst those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
As I was putting my shofar away a few days ago, some thoughts struck me. As we know, the main purpose of the shofar is a call to one to re-examine one's individual behavior for the past year. Its plaintive cry to us is to ask ourselves whether we have acted as dutifully as our religious calling requires from each person. We now have Simchat Torah coming up, which invokes a new set of imperatives. This scenario will be played out with an ending of Torah reading and a recommencement of the Torah. The background script will be the most compelling instructions in human experience, namely the Torah. Are we Jews always to be subject to demands on our morality and subject to ordinances dictating our general and our day-to-day conduct? The answer is clearly yes. If we are not to be Or LeGoyim, a light unto the nations, then who else? If we are not to be the prototypes of proper, neighborly behavior, what other nation or culture could perform this? History has given us this task, and we cannot shirk away from it. Our individual behavior adds up from one Jewish person to another, reaching a total of behavior by us all as a group towards others. This rests on all our heads. Shabbat Shalom. We proceed to readings from the Psalms, and our first reading will be on page 130, Psalm 95. Page 131, sorry. L'chuna ranana l'Adonai, nariya l'tzu yishenu, l'kadama panav b'toda, bizmirot nariya lo. Ki el gadol Adonai, u'melech gadol al kol Elohim, asher biyado mecharei aretz, v'toafot harim lo. Asher lo hayam, v'hu asahu, v'yabeshet et yadav yatzaru, bo'u nishtachave v'nichra'a, nivracha lifnei Adonai oseinu, ki hu Eloheinu, v'anachnu am, marito v'tzon yado, hayom im b'kolo, tihish ma'u. Tonight I'm going to vary a little bit from our practice of reading only from these Psalms. I'm going to turn to a Bible and read some other Psalms which are relevant. We're into the festival of Sukkot, we're halfway through it, and Sukkot is a time for thanksgiving for the blessings that God has provided us with, for the crops which are yielded, and it is quite a warming kind of exercise to know that we can thank God joyfully and not be subject all the time to very strict determination of laws that we must perform. Psalm 67, a portion of it goes as follows. Let the peoples give thanks unto thee, O God. Let the peoples give thanks unto thee, all of them. The earth hath yielded her increase. That is a proper Sukkot blessing. May God, our own God, bless us. May God bless us, and let all the ends of the earth fear him. That was from Psalm 67. We then have from Psalm 100 something very, very relevant. Page 944. Bearing in mind that we are into a season of thanksgiving to God. Please bear that in mind, because that touches on the Psalms which we are about to read now, if I can find it. 944. Yes, here we are. Psalm 100, a psalm of thanksgiving. Thanksgiving can take place at any time of the week and of the month and of the year, and it certainly does. But on particular occasions, the scriptures invoke us to give thanksgiving for whatever we are undergoing at that moment. Shout unto the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Show ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and we are his people, and the flock of his pasture. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and into his courts with praise. Give thanks unto him, and bless his name. For the Lord is good, his mercy endureth forever, and his faithfulness unto all generations. And from there we go to page, losing our place again tonight. Page 133. Here we are. Mizmor Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Ki Niflaot Asa. A psalm, sing to God a new song, for you have worked wonders. Your right hand, your holy arm have won you victory. Eternal One, you have shown your victory. You displayed your justice in the sight of the nations. You were mindful of your love and faithfulness towards the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth beheld the victory of our God. And from there we go to Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, which is the first part of which we've read, and the second part, Hariu Ladonai Kol Haaretz Pitzchu V'ranenu V'zamreinu.
Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, Bechinor, Bechinor V'kol Zimra, B'chatzotzrot V'kol Shofar, Shofar, Hariu Lifnei HaMelech Adonai. Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, Bechinor, Bechinor V'kol Zimra, B'chatzotzrot V'kol Shofar, Shofar, Hariu Lifnei HaMelech Adonai. Yiram hayam omlo, tevel ve'yosh ve'iva, ne'arot yimcha'u chav yachad, harim yeranenu, lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva, Yishpot haaretz, Yishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim b'meisharim. Yiram hayam omlo, tevel ve'yosh ve'iva, ne'arot yimcha'u chav yachad, harim yeranenu.
page 138 to welcome the Shabbat with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. שם תפארת ולתהילה, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. מעשה במחשבת תחילה, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עם מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך אפיך, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה. והוא יחמול עלייך, לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לה 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 לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לה לה.
For the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah B'roma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayeichon v'yomeichon V'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala v'zman Kariv ve'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Le'olam ul'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitomam v'yitnasei, v'yithadar. Vitale vitalal Shmei de Kudesha Brichu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbachata v'nechemata Damihiran be'olma V'imaru Amen. We turn now to the Baruch Hu, page 146, after which Rabbi will be joining us.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Le'olam Va'ed
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv harabim v'chokhmah poteach sharim uvituna meshana itim umachlif et hazmanim umesader et hakochavim b'memshotem b'rakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or umavir yom umevi layla ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המעריך הרבים. You know, we're reading traditionally tomorrow Ecclesiastes, and one of the things that we are reminded of as we read it is the importance to love when you can, to share your love of creation and your love of other people with them. And so as we enter into the love sandwich, where we remind ourselves of the great love that God expressed in creating the world and in placing us in it. And then we say the Shema, which is not a prayer, but rather our declaration of the unity of the divine impulse. That even though the world sometimes is harsh and sometimes is extraordinarily beautiful, that both of those things are contained in creation. And so my mind is at Bereshit. I know we're still a few days away, but my mind is there, right? This notion that the divine presence can encompass all of those emotions, the desire for justice, the desire for truth, the desire for beauty, the desire for compassion, and that we, being created in that image, also hold untapped reserves of love for this world that has been created and for those people who are dear to us. And so when we proclaim the Shema, we are also unifying ourselves with our own true names. And then we come to the Ve'ahavta, which is the reminder to our own world, to our own plane, that's important always to reach up into our higher selves, as well as, of course, into the higher realms, and to share our love in that way and to speak about that love. You know, we're not taught to speak about the commandments. We're taught to speak about the love of God, the love that we have for this incredibly beautiful world. So we enter into that kavanah with this prayer. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadata. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu uv'kumenu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yamenu, uvahem negei yomam v'layim. Ve'avtecha, al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Do not take your love away from us, not for 1 millisecond. Leave it with us forever. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
מי כמוך פעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וקלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גיא ישראל. Grant us, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel for your name's sake. Be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. Ki el chanu v'rachum ata, u'shmol tzedkenu v'oenu l'chaim l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch ata Adonai, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל. אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
So we enter from our blessing of Sabbath into our prayers, into the real chance to ask for love and blessing and large panting dogs to show up next to us. Sorry. And I'm going to give us a little meditation because we're also doing this in our Sukkot, in our physical Sukkot, if we are blessed to have one around us, but also in the Sukkah that we can build in our hearts. And so I invite us to put aside the walls that might be surrounding you and to build for yourself a Sukkah of Shalom. What does your place look like where you can find real peace, real wholeness? Let's go there together as the choir opens our lips so that we may stand once again in praise.
Adonai sefata tiftachu fi agitei natecha. Adonai sefata tiftachu fi agitei natecha.
Praised is the one of our ancestors, the ancestors who dwelt in tents, in booths, in places of uncertainty, but also in places of sureness. Every time you took down the tent, you had a rhythm, you had a way, and you packed it and you carried it and you put it back up and you fastened the ropes to the tent pegs and you saw it was good. And each time you moved, you recreated the world for yourself, for your family. We praise God who gave our ancestors the opportunity to dwell, to bring themselves to their own locations of holiness, wherever that might be. And we bless the God of power, who gave sustenance to all, who answered the prayers of the people in the wilderness, who brought them the manna when their matzah had run out, who sheltered them from wild beasts, who gave them shoes that never wore out, even 40 years in the desert. I know that's a midrash, but it's such a beautiful midrash, that we are carried on divine power in ways that we just don't expect, that keep our feet from stumbling, that help us to survive the heat and the harshness. And in those places of protection, of the tent, and of the garments, we find holiness. We walk in, we see that our homes are arranged the way we wish. We see the sweet light of the candles burning now in our sukkah instead of on our table. We see the flowers, we hear the birds. We rejoice in the beginnings of the spring. And all this leads us to an amazing realization of the holiness of all, that all is so sacred. All we need to do is build this little hut and go outside and remember, oh, creation is here for me. What a holy and magnificent thing that is. And in the midst of creation, what have we been given? We have been given the Shabbat for rest, this opportunity to stop, to not labor, to not build, to not put up the tent, to just enjoy the quietude and the beauty of the world and the sound of the birds and the growth of the flowers and the laughter of our children. And this blessing of holiness leads us to call out in thanks for all that we have been given, to cast our eyes upon the beauty that is around us and say, wow, what an opportunity to see this, to feel this, to taste this, to touch this. For this, I am thankful. And, you know, when you say thanks to somebody, you hope they hear it. You say, please accept what I bring. Accept it as if it is the sweetest scented incense, the most perfect offering anybody has ever brought to you, because you have given so much to me. Take what I have with as much reverence as I accept what you give. And then when we have been in this relationship with the divine, which is reciprocal, we ask for wholeness. We ask for peace. We recognize that we have this moment together where we can roll up our sleeves and put the schnapps on the table and speak of the things of the heart. And we want that moment for everyone, for our children, for our grandchildren, for our great-great-grandchildren who are not even thoughts in our minds, but who may bear our names and will certainly bear our teachings. For our neighbors who have children and grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren who will bear their names and carry on their teachings. For all in the world, we ask for peace and loving kindness. We ask for the blessing of the Sukkah of Shalom, the canopy of peace that is spread over all of us, so that we may all look to each other in joy and to the future with hope in the possibility that we may truly create once again a world where all can stand in safety and security. And this brings us to the beauty and the wonder of the blessing for peace, which is found on page 178.
Shalom Rabban Yisrael, Amcha Tasim Leolam, Ki Ata Melech Adon, Lechol Hashayim.
What a beautiful tune and a beautiful tribute to peace. Let us take a moment in silence to count our blessings, to remember the beauty of the world, to ask that if we've by a chance dropped a little bit of milk on our clean page or made a scratch on it, that we be mindful and be returned into this peaceful moment. Thank you so much to the choir and as always to our amazing tech team. I want to begin my talk today with just a moment of memorial. I'm here instead of being at a funeral. It's always hard to have only one tusuk and not to be able to be in two places at once. One of the great cantors in our midst left this world this week, actually on his birthday. He was 72. His name was Richard Kaplan. And I'm going to encourage you, and perhaps we'll put it in the Adkan for next week, to look up his recordings. He really brought the teachings of Ecclesiastes and in particular of Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav into the world through his music. The idea that we must enjoy, we must savor that which has been given to us, because the world is sometimes very hard. And it is important to be able to see the beauty through the difficulty. And I'll just relate one story about his life, which I've always found remarkable. He had a Jewish background, but was studying other things and was playing jazz piano in a lounge, you know, the type where the piano is kind of in the background. And one of the local rabbis happened to be there having a drink and heard this incredible music and went over to him and said, "I'm sorry, but your talent is almost being wasted here. Nobody's really listening to you. Have you ever thought about singing in the Jewish community?" And without even knowing his name or knowing that his background was a Jewish one. And that propelled Cantor Richard into his life of singing. He was for years the beloved leader of a traditional progressive shul. And he also did alternative services with Sephardi music and Arabic music and tabla and piano, just amazing services once a month that my family and I used to go to. And so this would be his message, I think, on this day, as we stand poised to read about the beauty and the bitterness, and we sit in our Sukkot of flimsiness and of safety. He would have read, as I did in preparation, Ecclesiastes Rabbah, the great commentary on the book of Kohelet, written, we are told, by King Solomon. And there's a verse in it. This is from chapter 7:13. Pardon me, I'm looking at my text here. It says, Ra'eh et ma'aseh ha'elohim, ki mi yuchal l'taken et asher ivto. Right? Look at the world. Look at the creation, the work of the divine's hands. Who can straighten out what the divine has twisted? And the Midrash, which classic Midrash on this, says, when the Blessed Holy One, and I'm reading to you, I'm sorry, created the first human, God took, this is Adam, and led him round all the trees in the Garden of Eden and said to him, look at my works, how beautiful and praiseworthy they are. All that I have created, it was for you that I created it. Pay attention that you do not corrupt and destroy my world, because there's no one else to repair it for you. And it goes on to say that Adam is actually responsible for the generation of Moses, and that anything that he does to destroy the garden will have repercussions for centuries to come. And I think, there are two lessons in this for us. One is, of course, that of guardianship and stewardship of the earth. But the other, and this is the one that I think Cantor Richard embodied so beautifully in his life, and that I hope I am able to also bring into my world, is the love for that which is not perfect, right? It says, look at God's work. Who can straighten what God has twisted? If there's the intent that something not be straight, it is our job, says this Midrash, to admire it for what it is. We have hard lives, some of us. And what the Midrash is telling us is not to judge the harshness of somebody's life or where they are, but to find the beauty that is within them and to celebrate that, to support that, to nurture that, to see the other parts, the parts that are difficult. My friend Chris, who you know about, who lives downstairs, who today asked me for some socks, and after services, I'm going to go on Amazon and get him some socks. Such a simple thing. Sits outside and sometimes screams unusual things into the street to no one. And yet, whenever I come down, he says, Shalom, shalom, I wish you peace, I wish you blessing. And so it's my job to see the man who wishes me peace, the man who wishes me blessing, the man who asks for socks. And to realize that sometimes he may also yell out things in the street, but that doesn't make him any less of a creation of God. To look at the tree that is in front of our house, that is wrinkled, and we've supported it with sticks, and who knows how old it is or how long it will last. But to admire the crunched branches and the places where the leaves aren't growing just as much as the canopy of green that is at the top. And to nurture that tree, to support it, to give it water, to sneak out and give it fertilizer. This is our job, to see, as Ecclesiastes saw, the inevitable distress in the world, and to also see the beauty that is inherent in everything, even if there is distress, even if there is crookedness. And with that, we have the power. We have the power, folks. We are the guardians of this beautiful world. We have the power to make it beautiful, to keep it safe, and to pass it along. And that is really our task. And I think it comes to the fore as we rest from the craziness of the spiritual harvest that is the lead up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and enjoy what we have in our Sukkot with our friends, with our children, with those untold generations who will all admire your perhaps not so perfect Sukkah and the sweetness of the stories that you tell over and over again, maybe with a little detail changed here and there. But that is the perfection of your own imperfect and yet glorious humanity. May we all have the chance to celebrate that many weeks into this brand new year. Shabbat Shalom.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר, יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל זרועם. וכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר לעשות. וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו יבוא שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצווינו, בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון חנכנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זה חילת מצרים, כי באנוכת אותנו קידשנו מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון קלטנו. ברוך אתה אדוני בקדש השבת.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, Peter. Return to page 586 for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמה, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום ושבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים עמך, ועל הארץ מתחתינו.
at the foot of page 588. We therefore hope in you, eternal our God. May we soon behold the glory of your might, sweeping away the false gods of the earth, that idolatry be completely removed, perfecting the world under the rule of God, that all humanity invoke you, and turning all the wicked of the earth toward you.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Page 597. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbours have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who passed away at this season in years gone by, and those whom we've drawn into our hearts with our own. In particular, we think of Rivka Ricky Kotzen, wife of Ryan, daughter-in-law of Morris and Jackie Kotzen, and sister-in-law Bianca. Robert Jacobs, uncle of Leroy Barnes. Goldie Gerber, mother-in-law of Lali Gerber. Norma Taylor, mother of Michelle Ross and grandmother of Warren Ross. Shlomo Bar, father of Ronan Bar. Hilda Licht, mother of Roy Licht and grandmother of Ryan Licht. Ashley Fine, father of Roan Fine. From Bet Menorah, Pretoria, Necha Joss, grandmother of Alan Joss. And Bet David in Durban, Ernest Aaron, partner of Audrey Levy. Thelma Cohen, mother of Keith Guild. Sydney Moss, Eric Katzer, father of Evan Katzer. Florrie Goodman, mother of Esther Gershenov. And Marilyn Falk. Recently, the following passed away, and we think of them. Leanne Wolfson, mother of David, Inger, and Janine Wolfson. Remembered by Bet Menorah and all who were at Menorah Nursery School during her time as principal. Wendy Beblot, mother of Shai Tal. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing as we move to the Mourners Kaddish.
Please turn to page 597 as we read meditation number 11. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss and life and death. Page 598. Yid Gadal Shmei Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Chirutei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayachon V'meyachon V'chayei B'chol Beit Israel, Ba'agala V'bisman Karif V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach, Le'alam Ol Almei Almaya. Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitba'ar V'tromam V'yitnasei V'yitadar V'yitalei V'yithalal Shmei D'Kudisha B'richu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'shirchata Tushbechata V'nechemeta Da'amiran B'alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Israel V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'imrumav Uyasei Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Israel v'imru, Amen.
Right. our announcements to end the service with. Thank you to Daron and Adam for looking after our technical desk and for taking care of the streaming of the service. Thanks also to the congregants who contributed videos to the service. Our Shabbat service tomorrow morning will be a special service as we welcome members from our sister congregations in Gauteng for an Orchim Shabbat. The service will be led by Ian Mann and Rabbi Shalomo and starts at 10 a.m. via the usual YouTube link. We're very grateful for all donations received over the high holy days. These will be acknowledged in the coming weeks in Adkan Bulletin. If you've not yet made a donation and wish to do so now, this will be very welcome. Details of services for Simchat Torah, which begin this Monday evening, 27th September, can be found in the latest Adkan. Listen very carefully, it could be a little confusing. Listen carefully. The Erev Simchat Torah service from Bet David begins on Monday evening at 7 p.m., not at 6 p.m., at 7 p.m., and will be streamed via Zoom. Note, importantly, the link will be emailed on Monday. So Monday, you'll be getting your link. 7 p.m. is the service on Monday evening. On Tuesday, the morning of Simchat Torah, the 28th September, there will be a joint SAUPJ, a national service. All the progressive schools in the country will join in on this one for Simchat Torah, also via Zoom. There will be a different link, but it will be furnished for you. It has been published in Adkan and it will be repeated. Please join us for these services. So let me just emphasize, Monday evening 7 o'clock, and there will be a Zoom link, and Tuesday morning 9:30 there will be a Zoom link. A decision regarding the opening of services to congregants will be taken at the next Management Committee meeting to be held in the first week of October. We conclude our service with the singing of Shalom Aleichem, page 627. Shabbat Shalom to you all, and Chag Sukkot Sameach to everyone.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Yod, Mi-Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochim Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And we ask Rabbi to invoke a final blessing on her congregation. Rabbi.
Thank you, David. Very much looking forward to sharing challah with you, God willing, in the near future in safety for all. I think we should end today with the words from earlier in our service Ufros aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot Shelomecha. Please spread over us the shelter of your peace. Let us dwell so we may see the light and yet be in security. May we be able to reach out throughout all of our connections and welcome those who come to our homes, to our tables, to our Sukkot, metaphorical or otherwise. And may our actions tip the balance so that your peace may truly descend upon the whole world. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom.